What up, y'all? It's the Real Ball Watcher. Grab your binoculars, and I'm back with another video right quick. This one a little different. This a little quick little 1-2. We're going to have some film in there. We're going to have some contract talk. We're going to have a little bit of rumor talk. But as y'all see, there was a rumor that we look for Trey Hendrickson. And after watching the film on the last 2 preseason games, that's a need. Now, I know I was telling y'all on Twitter, Micah Parsons ain't happening. Cap-wise, it don't make sense. We have gut our team. It's not worth it. This one we can do, and I'm going to explain why. So let's go ahead and get into the film. I'm going to show the film first and then do the contract and all that stuff and talk about the rumors after. So let's do it right now. Now, when it comes to the film, man, against the Texans, y'all watched it. I mean, all week at the joint practices, they talked about how Panthers couldn't get no pressure. Most of the sacks that they did get were coverage sacks, and I do want to point that out. Dan Morgan has done a great job of fixing the coverage and fixing the run defense. Those are two things that look really, really good, especially the coverage. Coverage has looked basically great so far. If you factor in that J.C. Horn hasn't played, the way Corey Thornton has looked, Mike Jackson still looks like he did last year, which wasn't a terrible player. It's a good player. Maybe above average is a little bit more respectable or realistic to say. So you have 3 corners that can play because Thornton has been locked down so far. So the coverage looks good. The safeties have not looked terrible. They haven't looked out of their depth. And the run defense has looked really impressive, especially against the Browns. A little less against the Texans, but still haven't seen a lot of Derrick Brown. So once they start changing those matchups around when it comes to the defensive tackles on the inside, I think it's going to look even better. Linebackers haven't even looked that bad either. So the only thing that's really struggling right now is our pass rush. We cannot get to the quarterback. With Nick Scoring having a collapsed lung, we don't know how long he's going to be out. Hope he's all right. Y'all know I'm a big Yeti guy. That's the Yeti. I like the Yeti a lot. But in Cleveland, he was dominating. I mean, he won on almost every single pass rush rep he had. He looked good in the run. He looked good at moving in space, tackling the screen. I have all that film. We can pull it up for y'all. If you didn't see it, I had a cut up on my Twitter. Nick Scoring has looked good, but with Nick Scoring out, the pass rush has been deflated, and we should not be that reliant on one player, but not only that, a rookie for our defensive pass rush. We got to get better. So I'm going to show y'all. Let me show y'all what the 2 pressures. We were credited with 2 pressures for our starting defense against the Texans in those 2 drives that they had. I'm going to show you exactly what those plays look like. And you tell me, you think we should add somebody or not? Let's go ahead and let the first one run. Under center, we're going to get some play action. Pocket looks great. C.J. Stroud really was never under pressure. He took half a step up. Was able to complete a pass on a comeback to Jaden Higgins. I mean, the pocket was great. He didn't have anybody in his airspace. They credited, I want to say, DJ Wanham with this pressure as he kind of had a little delayed reaction when the tackle kind of just forced him around the loop. He did get past the tackle, but it wasn't much there. Let's look at the next one. Now, this one, there is no pressure on this one. I don't care. Y'all can say what y'all want to say. I'm telling you, there's no pressure on this. This is perfect. CJ Stroud runs into pressure because no one's open. And this is what I mean. The coverages look great. The fact that nobody's open, that we have a quarterback of CJ Stroud's poise and pocket ability running into pressure, that shows how good our coverage is. But you look at the defensive linemen, nobody has won. Nobody has won. Everybody has a tackle with their hands on them in between them and the quarterback. There is nobody that won. The person that got the sack was a coverage player. It was Roseboom coming out of coverage to step up when CJ Stroud was about to scramble out for a touchdown. There's no pressure on these 2 plays. Simple as that. So, I mean, I think it's super necessary to add this. I want to say when I was watching the game, we had 11 pressures. According to NFL Pro, we had 11 pressures. I think I tweeted out that it was on 56 plays or 56 plays with no pressure. For some reason, they included run plays into that. So it was really around 40 pass rush plays, 39 to 40 pass plays where we did not, or for the total game, and we only got pressure on 11 of those. You know, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, especially with Nick Scoring out. But there is an answer to this, and that's where we enter Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is an elite pass rusher. We can look at this film. He is an elite power rusher. Yes, he's 30 years old. About to turn 31, I want to say, or he just turned 30. One or the other. So he is a little bit older. And the Bengals don't want to pay him. We have just enough cap to stomach it this year if we make this trade. But dog, look at this, man. He's able to just run through tackle's chest. Get that sack on Patrick Mahomes. Second sack of this game. He's going to come off once again as a standing rusher. As a standing rusher, y'all seen those snaps. A lot of our snaps are in this same front, but as a standing rusher, these are much more even fronts. We run a lot of odd fronts, but as a standing rusher, he's still able to get that same get off and power. Let's look at it against Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. He's able to get into that tackle's chest, move him, and immediately get a sack. Look how fast these sacks are coming. These are not long, elongated, moving around. The quarterback has to run around, and then we finally get pressure. These are all not immediately at the snap, but a second after the snap. They're not getting past their second read at most on these plays. Here against an elite tackle in Andrew Thomas, he's able to run the hoop. He's not just all power. He's able to swipe his hands away, bend under him, run the hoop, and get this sack on Daniel Jones. So, and this is from the 3-point stance. He's able to win a standing. He's able to win in a 3-point stance, 4-point stance. He's able to win to the outside. Let's look at it right here against the Raiders. This one I had to include. I wasn't even going to include it, but I just seen how dominant he is. Running dog. Do I got to say much? I'm going to keep letting it run a couple times. Do I really have to say anything about this? We don't have a player on our team that can do this. Right as the ball snapped, too. There was no time to get through your progression. As you can see, Jimmy Garoppolo got through his first read pump fake because it wasn't open, and he was on the ground. That's how fast that he's able to get there. Then the last one. The last one right here against the Raiders also. He had 4 sacks in this Raiders game. This one's a strip sack. Standing against the chip. Get around the chip. Get around that tackle. Let's get a forced fumble. Let's get a strip sack on Jimmy Garoppolo right here. He had 4 sacks in this Raiders game. He's able to take over games. Simple as that. He had 91 pressures last year. I want to say he had 81 the year before. His second year in Cincinnati, which is 3 years ago, he had 67. And in his first year there, he had 91 again. He's led the league in sacks. He's had 17 and a half the year before last. And then last year, he had 17 once again. He's the elite pass rusher that we need to add to this team. I understand that I was not on the Micah Parsons train, and I will explain that when it comes to the contract stuff. But this is the type of guy we need. If we can deploy him, keep Nick Scourton, make him untouchable. They're probably going to want an edge in return. We're going to make Nick Scourton untouchable. Keep Nick Scourton and have Trey Hendrickson. Those two. If Nick Scourton has looked way better than expected in game 1. He doesn't even have to play at that level for our pass rush to be effective. Now, if he can just do what Clowney did last year, 30 to 40 pressures this year, maybe 5 sacks, because Clowney had 5.5, 5, 6 sacks, we're green. That's perfect next to a guy who's going to get you 80 to 90 pressures and over 10 sacks, but he's had 17. He's had over 15 in the last 2 years. We don't even need that. Get us 10. Get us 12. In 90 pressures, 80 pressures, we're set. 70 pressures, we're set with Trey Hendrickson doing that. But let's go ahead and get into the actual math, trade package, all that stuff that's going to have to go into it. This is all the film I got for you. I mean, I can show you some Nick scoring stuff, but we'll get to that later. So let's get into it. Now, let's go ahead and talk about, first, before we even talk about the contract stuff, let's talk about the trade details. This is the trade that I got up. Now, it says that we have contacted them. So this isn't something that's far-fetched. We have contacted them. The Browns have contacted them, and the Colts have. So let's say it's a bidding war. This is the max that I'm willing to give up. 2026 second. So this second coming in this next coming draft in a 5th. 2027 second and a 5th in 2027. That's the max I'm ready to give. The reason I'm basing it off of that, I'm looking at the Brian Burns trade that we did. When Brian Burns was getting traded, he was on a franchise tag. So that does have something to do with it. That's why I threw an extra 5th in. But he was 24, 25 years old. He was an ultra productive pass rusher, except he had a down year. Trey Hendrickson has not had a down year, so factor that in. But Trey Hendrickson is 31 years old. He's not reaching any more heights than he's already at. I don't think. I could be wrong. Maybe he just gets better, fine wine. Who knows? But most likely he's not going to get better. You also have to pay him once you get him. So that's going to eliminate any first-round picks. I don't think he'll get traded for a first-round pick. If he does, somebody has overpaid, because usually that doesn't happen when you're in a contract year. So you get 2026 second, 5th, 2027 second, 5th, and we also will have to trade probably an edge rusher back. It would most likely be a veteran, because I already have a rookie in Shamar Stewart. So they probably want a guy who's going to produce now. I don't think it'll be Pat Jones, because of cap-wise, it doesn't do anything for us. DJ Wanham had a pretty good year last year when he finally came back healthy from injury. I think he had like 40 pressures and 4 sacks. We just talked about how Clowney had that in a full year. He did that in like 8 games. So send him Wanham. Send him 2 seconds, 2/5. Hopefully a little less than that. Hopefully it could be like 2 seconds or a second and a fifth or a second and a fourth, something like that. But this is the max. Send him Wanham. I would say if they ask for Princely, I would be cool with it, but I don't think they will, just based off the scheme. They like a lot bigger, more built guys, kind of power rush guys who can also defend the run. Princely has been pretty good against the run. I don't want to give him up either. But Wanham, they're probably going to want a veteran guy. They're probably going to want a guy that fits their style a little better. That's going to be Wanham. And what we get back is basically Trey Hendrickson and a 6th-round pick in 2026 or 2027. I'm cool with that trade. We keep both our firsts. So we still add elite players in the 1st round. We still have 3rds. We can even move back in the 1st to get more seconds like we've done before. What we did, and I want to say, not this past draft, but the one before that, when we moved up to recoup picks. We can easily do that, keeping our 1st round picks. Now, when it comes to the contract, this is why it don't work. Micah Parsons, he's getting $24-25 million this year. As you can see, we have $19 million in cap space. Simple as that. That map 25 is more than 19. Simple as that. Now, what we can do is once we trade DJ Wanham, that's going to raise our cap space to $25 million. Once again, probably can't do that for Micah Parsons because that's going to leave us with $0 in cap space. That's a no-no. You want to have at least a little bit just in case you need to sign an injury player, something like that. Now, trading DJ Wanham raised us to $25 million. Trey Hendrickson is on a $16 million cap hit. What we're going to do is we're going to trade for him. That is going to leave us with about, I want to say, who cares what it leaves us with? I forgot. Once we trade for him, we're going to extend him. We're going to give him a 2-year, $70 million extension, or $69 million is what I had calculated. We can bump it to 70. This puts him at a $35 million range. The guys that's making that's more than what he wanted, because I think he wanted 30 originally or 31. Then he raised it to like 33 when somebody else got paid. But now he's getting more than what he originally wanted. He's going to be making the same money that Max Crosby's making. Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter is also 31 years old, so that's why I kind of based this contract off of that. But he's on a 1-year deal. Danielle Hunter, Max Crosby, and Nick Bosa. He's in that range. He's going to be probably the 3rd highest paid edge rusher in the league behind Myles Garrett and TJ Watt before Micah Parsons gets his money. So that's about $35 million a year. And this is how we're going to make it work. We're going to add some money into this year to raise his salary for this year up to $21.8 million. Once you add that $200K bonus, that prorated bonus, that's going to take him to $22 million as a cap hit this year. That's going to leave us with around $4 to $3 million to work with after we get down cuts from the 90-man roster, which we'll talk about. That's probably going to leave us about $5-6 million in case something happens. Then the next year, since we only have $18 million in cap space next year, we're going to have a base salary of $20 million, $5 million bonus, which is going to bring him to a $25 million cap hit. And then we're going to backload it a little bit in that 3rd year in 2027. We'll talk about why we did it this way instead of just giving them 3 years on top of this year. $32 million base salary, $6 million prorated bonus. That's going to bring him to $38 million, which will easily put him as the 3rd or 4th highest paid edge at this time. Simple as that. The reason that we didn't add 3 years on top of this last year is because in 2027, that is the last year of Bryce Young's rookie contract. That is going to be his 5th year option year. The year after that, whatever extension gives him, that's when that money starts hitting. So this is a short 3-year window, 3-year Super Bowl window where, hey, we get Trey Hendrickson. At the very least, we try to win the division this year. Next year with Trey Hendrickson, we're trying to get to the Super Bowl. The year after that, we're trying to get to the Super Bowl, and then that window resets because that rookie contract from a quarterback comes off. That's why we're doing it in this 3-year span. That's why it works. Now, I will say, once we cut a couple guys from the 90-man roster to get it down to 53. I do think DJ Johnson is going to be one of those guys cut. So that's actually going to give us a little bit more money. I want to say it leaves us with, about $5 million this year before we cut any other guys. So you can get around $5, $6, $7 million after we cut DJ Johnson, because we won't need him at this point. We're going to have Patrick Jones, going to have Nick Gordon, going to have hopefully Princely Umami-Ellen, going to have Trey Hendrickson, and then we're probably going to keep a Incoom, maybe. Probably going to keep Thomas Incoom. DJ Johnson can go. That's going to give us $2 extra million. Now, next year, we're going to have negative cap space. We're going to be $5 million in the hole. That's only $5 million though. We can make it work. When it comes to that money, what we're gonna have to do is gonna have to let some guys go. Now we're gonna cut. Sadly, I hate to say it because he's played well for us. A'Shawn Robinson. I think he becomes expendable when you get a Trey Hendrickson because you don't need his pass rush ability that much from the inside because Trey Hendrickson is going to be able to dominate. You're probably going to be chipping him, which leaves Derek Brown free, which leaves Turk Wharton free, which leaves your rookie Nick Scourton free. And that next year he'll be a second-year player, so hopefully he'll get him better. You can cut A'Shawn Robinson. I want to say that frees up a lot of cap space. I think it again brings us to $3 million under the cap. Then like I said, with that DJ Johnson cut, that's going to bring us an extra $2 million, so about $5 million. And then after that, we are going to cut Patrick Jones because at that, I think this year we're probably going to need him for the run defense because we have rookies there. Next year, if Nick Scourton is good, he's coming into his second year. He's had a year of tutelage under Trey Hendrickson, Princely Umamiela has a year of tutelage under Trey Hendrickson and Pat Jones. We don't need him. I wasn't that big of a fan of the signing anyway. Plus, that saves us another $4 or $5 million. We're at $9.4 million, almost $10 million under the cap. Simple as that. That's enough for your rookie class. Probably not going to make a whole bunch of free agent moves next year. Going to have to build through the draft. But I think this move puts us over the top on defense enough where, hey, we're okay not making a whole bunch of splash signings. Simple as that. Because guys like Turk Wharton, Trey Hendrickson, those guys are just going to have to work out. Simple as that. That's this 3-year window. Now, you can free up a little bit more space with cutting a couple of guys, like specifically Tommy Tremble. That takes us from $9.4 million to about $13-14 million under the cap. So if you need to make a couple of moves here and there on the margin, you can cut Tommy Tremble. You're going to have J.C. Sanders. You're going to have Mitchell Evans. You're going to have the other guy, that black dude that we got. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. That tight end. He's looked all right, though, to say the least. He's looked all right. I want to say it's Mitchell Robinson or something. He's looked all right. So you can find, we're going to be fine at tight end. Simple as that. Sorry to knock the camera over. But yeah, that's going to be your 3-year window. Simple as that. That is going to be your 3-year window. And deploying Nick Scourton, who had a 91.7 pass rush grade for PFF. I think he was one of the highest graded PFF players, period, in that first preseason game, in the first week of the preseason. I want to say he had 3 pressures, had a sack. He looked good against the run. He looked good in space. Being able to deploy him one-on-one 24/7 because he was getting chipped in that game. Now he's going to be one-on-one 24/7, probably versus the worst of the 2 tackles that we're facing. You're going to have Trey Hendrickson, who can beat elite guys and take over games on the opposite side. Derek Brown on the inside. Bobby Brown on the inside. For this year, at least, we're still going to have A'Shawn Robinson. Still going to have Turk Wharton on the inside. Your rookies, Cam Jackson, Sam Roberts, somebody who could make this team on the interior. J.C. Horn on the outside. Hopefully Corey Thornton is starting, but if not, still Mike Jackson is a good starter. Corey Thornton is your first guy off the bench who has been locking guys up. Shao Smith-Wade's in the nickel. You're going to have Trayvon Morick, who looked good this offseason and in that second preseason game. Damani Richardson, we're still trying to figure out that free safety spot, but if your worst, Lathan Ransom or Damani Richardson, I should say, if your worst spot is your free safety and you have an elite pass rusher, an elite pass rush, which I think this could get us very close to that if we add Trey Hendrickson, I promise that is going to be the least of your worries. The 2 least important or least impactful positions is safety and middle linebacker or a linebacker on your defensive front. Your front set, your defensive line, your corners is what matters most. Simple as that. It's like your offensive line or receivers. Simple as that. You can get away with having an okay running back with an elite offensive line. Look at the Eagles when they have Miles Sanders. No diss. But I'm just saying. So your corners are going to be your receivers of the defense. Your defensive line is going to be the offensive line of the offense. Simple as that. So that's all I got for y'all, man. I think this would be the perfect move. I think this could make us NFC South champions. I think this could put us in the running for that. At the very least, we could be the 7th wild card team. I think this adds at least 2 wins on top of whatever we were going to get before. If we was only going to get 5, this adds 7 to 8. We can get 7 to 8 wins with it. If you think where I was already at with it, where I think we could get 7 to 9 wins in between there, add 2 on top of that. If we're getting 7 wins, add 2. We at 9. If we're getting 8 wins, add 2. We getting 10. If we get 9 wins off of being lucky and just having a great year, add 2 on top of that. We're at 11. It's that simple because Trey Hendrickson is that dominant. But it's been a Real Ball Watcher. Put it binoculars. I'm out.